Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Hour of Love. I'm Charboil and this is...
El Bandito.
Oh man, El Bandito, I feel like we just entered a brave new world.
Well, we're about to, man. As Reclamation Day is slowly approaching, we are going to be entering the brand new world of Fallout 76, man. What do you think of that, Senor Bull?
You know, man, ever since the summer when it got announced, I know we've been talking about it. We've tried to like squeeze it in there like in almost like every PoDunk news segment that we do. Anytime we talk about video games that are coming up, we're always like 76, 76. And man, like you said, like in a blink of an eye, man, it is here. You know, tomorrow night at midnight, man, you know, people are going to be able to get their hands on this for the first time.
Absolutely, man. And it sounds like such a wild ride, such an exciting new experience. And that's kind of what Fallout's always been about, you know. And we were thinking about it the past couple weeks, like you said, as we keep seeing the stories pop up again and again, as we keep reading the reviews, as the beta tests come out, that we were surprised to find that people were constantly saying, this is so different, this is so different. Oh, I don't know about this aspect. How's this going to get pulled off? And it occurred to us that a lot of you beautiful people out there don't know that doing new and creative and innovative things is what Fallout has been all about, man. So we thought tonight we would take a look at the future of Fallout by taking a look at the past of Fallout. That's right. We're going to go through a retrospective telling you guys a little bit about each of the original Fallout games, what they kind of meant and brought to the genre, how they advanced gaming, and why we think that Fallout 76 pushing into this kind of PvP world is great, and it's innovative and exciting, and why we're excited about it.
Oh man, I could see some of the Legions excited about it too. Jason T says he's got it already. I mean,
Nice.
I don't know if that means he's got the pre-order, if he's been rocking the beta. Why don't you go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on that, Jason T? Let us know what you think. How is it so far?
Yeah, I have to say I'm pretty stoked for the fact that if you bought the game, the digital download, you could download it like now.
Yes.
So that when it comes out, it just premieres. And I think I retweeted it earlier today, but Bethesda put out the coolest thing. They put out a map of when the game was going to come out wherever you were in the world. So
okay.
it was showing each of the time zones. And what was funny was I was looking at it, and it's like 12:01. 12:01, like they were all 12:01 the same day, except for California, you know, because of the time difference over there, that it would be a little bit different. So they were going to make sure in the U.S. it all released at the same time.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh man, Jason T was just pulling our leg, man, but that's okay because, you know, like we said, you know, tomorrow night, you know, at midnight is when, even if you got the digital download, it'll become available and get out there. Like we said, I know there's been some people out there checking out the beta, or as they like to call it, the Break It Early Edition, which we, at least from what we've heard, like a lot of people have been breaking it, but Bethesda's already on the case and they're fixing the little bugs that they've already found. But hey, man, what's a good Bethesda game without a few bugs, right?
Oh, totally, man. You know, whether you talk about rad roaches or the herpy-derpy kind, you get a lot of fun bugs. One of my favorite things about the Fallout series, and I have to say a lot of games could learn from this, is that when you got bugged out and you got stuck in like a terrain element or something, that fast travel would always yank you out of there. So it was like, come on, guys, that's a great game mechanic that needs to get incorporated in a lot of other games. It's just F you up by getting you stuck in some trash. Yeah,
exactly. Like an escape this, you know, piece of scenery button or something.
Yeah.
But absolutely, man. Like you said, you know, we're definitely going to have plenty of time to talk about 76 after is released. But like El Bandito said at the start of the show, we are going to dig deep into the Fallout rich history that they have. And definitely we hope to share it with all you guys. So if you guys can go ahead and share the video, man, share it out to any of your friends out there who are Fallout fans or might be interested in jumping into 76 because now it's joining that multiplayer experience, man. Be sure to share the video with them. We want to educate and get people as excited as we are about this upcoming edition.
All right. Well, first and foremost, we got to give you guys a quick little update on a story from last week, man.
Oh, yes.
The following casework hit us up with their hashtag #INeedAMiracle to help fund their Kickstarter campaign. We reached out to the Legion of Love out here and said, if you guys could pass the word around, if you guys wanted to back this comic book, this indie book, and help this creator reach their goal, we would super appreciate it. And we got to say, The Legion of Love, man. You guys deserve it.
Oh yeah.
You came through. This Kickstarter needed what? Something like $1,500.
Yes.
In like 7 days, and they got it.
Absolutely, man. So you guys out there, thanks for pulling through and supporting and sharing and getting the word out. Because, yeah, man, now these great creators get to continue their dream and put out their upcoming comic.
Absolutely. So great job there, guys. Big ups to Aurelia, who we know said she backed it the minute we read the story. Super cool.
So cool. So cool. But absolutely, man. Like, it just goes to show you, man, you got to follow your dreams, man. Like, we were up there hanging out with Rob last week at the Daytona Beach Comic Con. That's the big drive for those creators, not just comic book creators, but any creators, man. You gotta get those dreams together, and you gotta make them happen. You know, don't just make them dreams, put them to action.
Absolutely, man. You know, a lot of people tell us all the time, "Hey, I want to do a podcast. Hey, I want to talk about this," and we're like, "Do it." Nothing's stopping you.
Do it.
You know, the only thing stopping us from doing it was us. And we said, you know what, we're going to do it. So now we do it. And we're here with all you beautiful people having a great time celebrating our tricentennial coming up on Wednesday of all times. So a little bit early.
Yes. Well, hey, trust me, if there wasn't already some like famous shoe company that used that tagline, I'd say it would be the Legion of Lug tagline. Just do it, you know?
No doubt, man. But the tricentennial that Fallout 76 is celebrating is really interesting to me. I think that's really cool that they chose that occasion, that date, for their Reclamation Day.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're not familiar, Fallout 76, what's up, Bishop, out there? He's screaming Fallout down there. He loves it.
Oh, yeah.
But Fallout 76 will take place on the tricentennial because in-game, you are supposed to be in a test vault.
Yes.
You know, so as we'll discuss in some of the following segments here, most of the vaults had kind of nefarious scientific purposes or studies they were doing, but this was like a control vault. It was like the original vault that was only supposed to be for a small amount of time just to kind of test it out. And it seems like, boom, war broke out while these people were in this vault. So they're the first people to awaken. It's the beginning of the journey of Fallout after the bombs fell.
Exactly. I think there's only like 20 or 25 years after the bombs fell. So like you said, nice fresh radiation out there for you to go get exposed to.
Yep.
And yeah, like really, aside from maybe like a small section of Fallout 4, like this is the earliest we've ever seen in the Fallout post-bomb, storyline. So it really is like kind of fresh. Even though it's a prequel, it's kind of like, well, we'll have to see what happens here.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a great concept for a prequel because, like, part of what they say is this will be so early on that a lot of the monsters will be bigger, more radically mutated, more dangerous, more aggressive. So it's a dangerous, dangerous world out there, which usually spells a lot of fun. So.
Oh, you know it, man. But hey, before, as this is going to take us way back, man, are we going to go into like a little further in the storyline, but still the first entry in the series?
Yes, absolutely, man. We're going to talk about that here. So here's our Reclamation Day photo there.
Sorry, I jumped a little ahead. See, I'm so excited.
You're sick of me talking about it. You gotta move on.
No. Oh, see, there it is. I knew it was coming. Well, hey, just like how, we're not saying that Fallout's ending, but, to know the ending, sometimes you have to start at the beginning, And what better place to start than in 1997's Fallout, which was released only on the PC at the time.
Yep. Yeah, strictly a PC game, came out October 10th. So they kind of have a history of putting out games in the fall season.
Oh, yeah.
So,
no, totally, man. And, I remember playing this not when it first came out, but I remember my brother-in-law came to me and he said, hey, man, I got this game. It's kind of like Diablo, but it's a little different. He's like, it's an RPG. I think you'll dig it. So he gave it to me, and I loaded it up, and I played on it for a couple days, rocked it out. And I really liked the exploration fact of it. Like, I didn't know any of the story. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, this seems real crappy. I mean, it tells you, there's a little video at the beginning, kind of gets you up to speed, but you're like, man, this seems like a real crap world. But man, once you kind of got in there, like I said, there wasn't a lot of direction. It was kind of like one of those games that when you dig in, it was like really up to you to find your way. And I know later on we're going to talk about some of the later games in the series, but I remember one game in particular when you first started playing, you were like, dude, I don't really know where to go. And I'm like, just go. Play, and you'll find your way. And that's what Fallout 1 was all about. It was like getting out there and experiencing it and making your own story.
That's kind of its big nod to innovation, is sort of the sense that it's the Seinfeld of video games. It was like nothing's really supposed to happen; things just happen. You know?
Oh yeah.
So there's obviously always a little bit of a backbone of a story to these games, but that open world experience, that RPG, that really lent itself very closely to tabletop gaming, was something that really drew in a lot of people. You know, this experience of being in a post-apocalyptic world where you kind of had to figure out how you fit in.
You know it, man. And that was the thing. Like, around these times, there were, like, some, 3D games coming out, Tomb Raider and stuff like that. But, man, like, the games that were really, being hot on the shelves, we're talking, like, Baldur's Gate. We're talking about those turn-based combat games, where you click and point and see where you want to go, attack this and that. And that's exactly what Fallout 1 was all based on. It was an open-world based RPG with a turn-based system. So, which... I mean, when you talk about the first game, you're seeing, VATS, the Pip-Boy, like stuff that is, if that disappeared from the Fallout universe, you'd be like, it's just not Fallout, So this is really where it all began, and it was released by Interplay Games. So that was the parent studio that first created Fallout. But man, there's a really cool thing about the system in Fallout. Man, you want to go ahead and tell them about it?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask the Legion of Love out there, all of our viewers right now, did you guys ever get a chance to play Fallout? If you have, yes or no, throw it in the comments, man. We'd love to hear from you guys. Also, this game is currently available on Steam. Yes. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's not too late, man. And these games are like $10, $15 or something. So really quite a steal. It's how I got to experience this game, and I've only played a little bit of it. I haven't even beaten the game yet, so it's pretty exciting.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know you were saying earlier about like the turn-based, how those games were so rooted in like the tabletop style. Well, a cool factoid about Fallout is that originally it was going to be based on the GURPS role-playing system from Steve Jackson Games. And I think what happened is as they got, kind of like the core rules very similar, they suddenly realized, well, wait a minute, then we still have to live within the confines of that system.
Yeah.
So they said, we're going to just kind of, borrow some of these and make our own special system. Which,
no doubt. Ends up being the special, which a lot of role-play tabletop guys will recognize the special as being very similar to a lot of the attributes you find like in D&D. Strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck, right? So a lot of cool stuff there. The GURPS system, if you aren't familiar with it, is the generic universal role-playing system, like you said, developed by Steve Jackson. And this thing really is like a monumental textbook of how to play a role-playing game in any time period with any sort of weapons, with any sort of magic, and you just kind of pick and choose the types of stuff you want, the genres you want in your game, and it has a rule set for it all to work together. So it's a fantastic system, but it was almost too broad in scope for Fallout and a little difficult to convert to computerized algorithms, which is where they had to change some of those attributes and develop the special system that we know and love and is still in Fallout today.
Oh yeah, man. I know there, some real, Fallout fans out there will say, well, technically there was a game before Fallout. Yeah, back in 1988, there was a game called Wasteland that came out for PC, and they've always kind of said Fallout was the spiritual successor of that game. But I mean, now it had some graphical interface, but it definitely, like, if you were to take the way that game was to even how Fallout 1997 was, like, you'd be like, oh my gosh, look at the leaps and bounds just in 9 years that came from 88 to 97.
Yeah, and I think the studio that published it and the people who developed it are a bigger part of whether or not it's actually a sequel.
Yes.
than not,
yes.
So it sounds like a bunch of people played that game and then, made something akin to it. But I'm not 1,000% on that. So.
Well, definitely, like you said, they were always like, this is in the heart of that, kind of game. So their hearts were all in the right place, but they were like, this is going to be our own thing. It has no actual ties. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Now, when we think about Fallout games, you always think about taking on the role of the protagonist.
Yeah.
Which, you do name, but they always kind of have a name that goes throughout the game with them.
They have that moniker.
Yeah.
That's just like what generic people usually call you in games. So.
Yep. So in this one, It was the Vault Dweller. That
Yes.
was the first, you're from Vault 13, and they sent you out. Yeah, exactly. They sent you out to look for a water chip that had gone bad. And man, did that kind of spiral you into a world of craziness and super mutants and warring factions. And Brotherhood of Steel and NCR made their first appearance in this game.
No doubt, man. So as you travel around looking for this water chip, man, some of the things you get to do is you get to have the sort of speech interactions that many modern-day Fallout players will recognize. This was a really unique system to me. I thought this was pretty cool. They give you a little animation that plays at the top of the person that you're talking to, and then your dialogue choices underneath. Typically, you didn't get both at the time. There wasn't a lot of stuff like this. So that I thought was a really innovative, very cool thing to have kind of all combined and put together. But also in this aspect of sort of, there's a computer element to it that's what you're using, sort of your Pip-Boy-ish sort of thing there. So that was pretty great, man. But for the most part, you were wandering around the world kind of in that 3/4 top-down perspective, and you're clicking on these little hexadecimal or octadecimals type squares and moving from location to location like that. So pretty interesting layout of the game. Very easy to play. I mean, sit down and it makes sense right away. So,
and unlike Diablo, where it's more of a click or a button clicker, almost like Zelda, hacking away. With this, when you'd enter combat, you'd have your action points, and depending on what you were trying to do, would cost a certain number of points, like move to a spot, fire your weapon, reload, so on. So it was kind of cool. And the same thing, you could pinpoint, your enemy, and it would give you a percentage of how close you were to hitting them. So, like I said, it was definitely very innovative for its time.
Absolutely, man. So the official rating on this game looks like GameSpot rated them at an 8.7, and PC Gamer gave them a 90 out of 100, and Fallout is considered GameSpot RPG of the Year for 1997.
So when you have accolades like that in 1997, they knew they were sitting on a great idea here.
Oh, absolutely!
So
first game right at the gate.
Exactly, man. You know it. Now, what do you think they did next, Al Bandito?
After that game?
Yeah.
Did they make Fallout 2?
Pretty much. And that's what I always found to be very funny. While I have played through Fallout 1 and beaten it entirely, or I mean, as entirely as I wanted to, because there's multiple story options, so on. You can replay it. But I've actually played a limited amount of Fallout 2. I know the whole story just by using the internet and looking stuff up. But man, look, tell them when did this one come out, Al Bandito?
So this one came out September 30th, 1998.
Less than a year after the first.
Yeah, I mean, that is moving, man. Considering it took, 8 years
between
New Vegas and Fallout 4? That's a pretty impressive a turnaround time there. So
absolutely, man. But like we said, Interplay was like, damn, we are on to something good here. So why don't we go and get cooking on a sequel? And like we said, obviously the graphical and all the voice recording and stuff that goes into games nowadays, we could see why they take so many years. But man, these guys were like, you know what? We're gonna bump the storyline up 80 years, past the first one, so enough time has passed. So now you still got a little bit of a fresh story, but then we're gonna kind of keep most of the mechanics and stuff the same, but make a larger world.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you got a bigger sandbox to play in now.
And
go ahead.
No, you got it.
All right. Well, definitely. While a lot of the same team worked on the second game, like we said, mostly a lot of the gameplay remained the same. A lot of times when we play these newer Fallout games, we're like, what did they change? What did they advance? But no, actually, a lot of the gameplay is pretty much taken right from the first game. So a lot of times you feel like you're playing more of a continuation of the first story than than a sequel.
Yeah, I would say this kind of falls into the realm of DLC. Like how we get DLC nowadays, this kind of would have been more akin to that back in the day because there was no actual game engine changes or anything like that. I mean, you can see here the animation stuff is basically the same, point and clicking around, kind of that stuff. So,
Well, one thing in the story, I know well, I guess it's not much of a spoiler anymore, but at the end of Fallout 1, you go back to the vault, and pretty much the overseer tells you, well, you've been too exposed to the overworld. Like you can't come back. Like
Nice.
you would tell people all this stuff. So then you actually have the option of just walking away or killing them, which was pretty awesome for back in the day. You know, but the thing is, it's pretty much either way you still leave. You don't go back down. So you kind of create this own civilization for your city for yourself. And in the game, you're playing like a distant relative of yours, you know, because it's 80 years later. So it's like they're like worshiping like number 13 vault suit, you know? So it was kind of it was a neat story. It was a continuation, but it was like, you know, you don't really need to play the first one.
Yeah, and where a lot of the kind of new stuff comes to play in this game is more in the story elements of it. You know, saying that this is the first appearance of the Enclave that we saw like on the cover of the game there. You know, they're very signature sort of power armor style. You know, the first appearance of the Gek.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So...
Which, for anyone who's not familiar with Fallout, the Gek is pretty much like the ultimate device that could take a real crappy place and turn it into something livable.
Yeah, it was like some kind of Eden project sort of thing,
Yes.
you know, like revitalize the area.
The Garden of Eden creation kit.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it was something in there, man. We got it. Teamwork makes the dream work. There you go.
Got it, man.
So what was your cool moniker they gave you in Fallout 2?
Oh, man. So, you know, the Vault Dweller was already in. So in this one, you were the chosen one.
Oh, the chosen
you know,
one.
because you're going from your, you know, your very simple farm, you know, style settlement that you start in, and you're going out into the world to find this Garden of Eden creation kit, because pretty much, Fallout pretty much everything sucks. So it's like they can't grow anything good.
Yeah.
You know, like we need this thing that we were told about. But like you said, the Enclave is also hunting for it, so they definitely get in your way quite a bit. But it's kind of cool. You start off with like spears and stuff. Like you don't have like guns and stuff right out the gate like in the first game. So you kind of when you find those things, it's funny that you're not really good with them.
Nice.
You know, you have to kind of learn how to use them. So it was very unique. But like I said, I never actually completed this one. This was one that I had to read about the story later on when I heard out Fallout 3 was coming out.
Well, regardless of whether or not you played the game yourself, it was a smash hit. IGN giving this an 8.9, right? And PC Gamer saying it's the third greatest RPG of all time.
Wow. That's pretty high up there on the rankings, you know?
Yeah, all time. It's pretty good. It's like ever.
Well, definitely, you know, and that always makes me think I need to go back and replay this. But, you know, it's just like anything, man. Like, you can go back and appreciate the older games, but it is so you realize how difficult these older games are. I mean, you know, nowadays you're more playing games more for a story, and kind of
the developers want you to get to the end of the story. You know, back in the day, there was more of a focus on something being difficult, being a challenge, an achievement to finish it. You know, but now we have achievements that are like, you know, hit a guy with a golf club, achievement.
Exactly. Yeah, you get some points that don't mean nothing, but you can brag to your friends.
Well, I mean, you say they don't mean anything, but I saw a guy at E3 who was crossing 1 million gamer points, and Xbox was throwing him this huge party. So that's
then I guess it does mean something.
legit. I mean, a million's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't even think Party Man Will's close to that.
I'd be careful though, man. I've been watching some of his durations on some of these games. I'm like, man, Party Man Will needs to be getting paid by that Elite Dangerous company.
No, but that's what I'm saying. He doesn't really rack in the achievements that much.
Gotcha,
you know? Like,
gotcha.
Yeah,
I know on these Fallout games, I know he definitely puts. I think when I last checked his Fallout 4, I think he had like 30 days in it or something like that. It's insane.
Well, what's cool is that like Bethesda, the Fallout games, they usually include a lot of achievements you can't miss. Complete a level, gain a level, get to a level. But then they have a lot of tricky little things here and there that you got to discover, find out, try. You know, secret achievements, stuff like that. So it can be a lot of fun, man.
Oh, you know it, man. And, you know, now we're saying, you know, we talked about Fallout 1, Fallout 2. Now we're going to get into the realm where I think a lot of our fans and even you and I are a little more familiar in.
Absolutely, man. We're talking Fallout 3, baby. This came out October 30th, 2008 for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. I have to say, this was probably one of the first 3 games I ever played on Xbox 360.
Oh,
and
man.
this blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this thing was incredible. It takes place in the Capital Wasteland. So the first game to take place on the East Coast.
Yes.
Because both Fallout and Fallout 2 were on the West Coast, again, with the NCR and stuff like that. But this taking place in the Capital Wasteland was a burned-out, Fallout-ridden Washington, D.C. area. So this was pretty exciting, right? And when you want to talk about really taking the game to the next level, this Fallout 3 was all about it, man. And I got to show you guys just some quick slides of what I'm talking about. First up, you got full 3D environment, first person, third person. You're walking around, you're in the world. No more point and click and adventure. You are the character. You get to encompass them and meet and kill other interesting characters in the third dimension. So.
Oh yeah, man. And also, like we had said, it's the first Fallout game that was actually available on console. You know? So it wasn't just a PC. It was like, hey man, now everyone that's used to just playing behind the TV screen with their controller can jump in as well and rock it out, man. So I think that helped kind of like launch it into a lot of other folks' hands.
No doubt, man. Well, definitely the difference between the game, the previous games being that kind of 2D isometric to this being a third-person perspective game really is so much more immersive. I know we talked about that last week with that Overkill's Walking Dead game being first person and how the difference in that sort of game is more immersive. But imagine we were comparing third person to first person. Imagine 2D isometric going to, top down sort of 3/4 style to 3D first person. I mean, that's a mind-bending change. That's a huge leap, and that only scratches the surface of what Fallout 3 got into, because beyond the scope of just the look of the game, your ability to move around, to walk around, to interact with people, all got exponentially better. I mean, the dialogue choices you could have. Here's one of my favorites there. 3Dog. Woo.
Oh, definitely, man. He was so much fun. He's got to come back in some future game.
Well, getting to run through and talk to people, have these dialogue successes, wasn't something new. That had been in the previous games, right? But how greatly they affected the story. From the fact that you could kill 3Dog. And then I think you could kill him, right? Some people you couldn't kill.
Yeah, I think he may have been on reserve, being that you hear him on the radio all the time. Like,
okay.
He may have had that Bethesda plot armor.
Yeah, he might have. But I know there's a number of people, like Lucas Sims, who was like the sheriff of Megaton. Yeah. Like Megaton itself, you could destroy and kill. Shout out to Bishop, who ruined his game by blowing up Megaton. And then also shooting Tenpenny, and then he had like nothing left to do.
He boxed himself. I know. I'd love when you do something in Fallout 3 and then all of a sudden you fail like 3 missions you had gotten earlier in the game. You're like, oh, hold up.
Yeah, this kind of really expanded on the idea of like association or reputation with people. Reputation become a major element in later games, but for really scratching the surface, this game, you had to kind of stay on the straight and narrow for a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like the main story was a good story arc, but you could do a lot of heinous shit in the meantime.
Yeah, I know if you did blow up Megaton and you kind of went along with Tenpenny, your dad, when you finally meet up, he's like, well, you've made some choices that I wouldn't have, but I still love you, son. Voiced by Liam Neeson.
I was going to say, can we take a minute? Big ups to Liam Neeson. Ra's al Ghul coming in and playing your dad in there, man. So that was pretty exciting, man. One other thing that I think was just a stellar achievement of that game was taking the VAT system into the individual body part, into that 3D world.
Oh, yeah.
Was really cool. You could target different people in succession. Based on your action points, you could use your jet to increase action points and then shoot 5 or 6 people. I mean, just stunning development for first-person shooter mechanics. So.
Oh, yeah, and I think this also, too, like, versus this game just being like a first-person shooter, like, I think this kind of still lended that hand to that RPG element of the first games where even if you're not much of a first-person shooter, you could still play Fallout because you could do this.
No doubt, man. Yeah, the VAT system completely stopping time so that you could look around, choose, pick your targets, everything like that, definitely helped a lot of people who weren't versed in that, because a lot of PC gamers weren't playing those. Well, I guess like first person things kind of started there, but I would say more people were really hitting that Call of Duty stride over on console before that became so regular on PC. And a lot of PC people will tell you, me being able to move a mouse, like I can point and click easier than you can use the joysticks or whatever. I think that's debatable, but either way, if you didn't play those games in general, this was going to help you bridge that gap. You're right.
Absolutely, man. Well, in this game, you take on the lone wanderer, know, because you come out of that vault and pretty much you're just traveling by yourself for quite a while.
Yeah.
But same thing, just like the earlier games, you collect some companions and man, really go out there and start wrecking shop. Now, this game takes place 36 years after Fallout 2, but like you said, on the completely opposite coast. So there's not a lot of. Like even though there's some teams that were in those earlier games, they act a little differently because they're practically a world apart.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, we could sit here and talk about Fallout 3 all night, but we got to talk about the scores that this got, man. Out the gate, man. Bethesda was already known for their, Morrowind and Oblivion,
the
and
Elder Scrolls
series, and man, for them taking on this, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's like Elder Scrolls but with guns, but nah, man, this was just so much more. Man, I know Game Informer gave it a 9.5. Oof, 5 points away from being perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, IGN a 9.6.
Yep.
Now these guys, like we said last week, they like to flip flop quite a bit. So for them to be so close. Kind of shows how great this game is, and it also was awarded the Game of the Year.
Yep, absolutely, man. And if I'm not mistaken, I think for the aughts, it's also Game of the Decade.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say it's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. I mean,
no doubt,
no, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, when I got done with that game, realizing I had played over 100 hours of a game. That really blew my mind. That was the first time I'd ever done that. I mean, I'd gotten close. I'd gotten in the 60s maybe with something like Assassin's Creed 2 or something like that. But playing this game and just going well into the hundreds, discovering so many little things, and then being able to talk to someone and realize you both had traversed this path completely different, with different companions, different people, killing different people, helping different people. It's just so amazing, the twists and turns that this game can pull you along as you play, man. It's really an experience. Absolutely, man. Tons of fun time. And man, like you said, it was a hit for Bethesda. So just like 10 years before, with Interplay, what did Bethesda do next? They were like, hey, let's make another game. Let's make another Fallout. Let's not waste any time. So I believe they actually passed the buck over to Obsidian for this one, right? Yep. And said, we need you guys to take the game engine, take what we have and build a new game off of it, while they kind of revamp the actual core stuff. So that was cool. A lot of developers had just started doing that there at the end of that decade. So this was a great move for Bethesda to kind of keep the dream alive without having too many of their guys in-house having to develop these different things, especially considering they were working on the Elder Scrolls franchise, right? Absolutely, man. And, one of the kickbacks, a lot of people who are fans of the earlier Fallout games were like, man, it feels like Fallout, but, it's not the story that I knew, man. It's not that story. So you know what Bethesda said? Hey, man, over there at Obsidian, man, there's a lot of guys that worked on the original games. Yeah. So let's get them involved and, have them give their own little take on it, which, having played some of those earlier games, when you play Fallout New Vegas, man, you can feel the difference. There's definitely a lot more open-endedness, I would say, to Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, like we said, Fallout 3 very much has this backbone of a good story, a good arc that you're following. Now, Fallout New Vegas is the game that you referenced earlier, and the fact that I called Senior Bull a few days after playing 20 hours or so, being like, what the hell am I supposed to do in this game? I don't know what my goal or objective is. And he's like, dude, you just do whatever you want. Like, you just live there and, enjoy it. And I was blown away in the sense that, there is a bit of an overarching story in the sense of you need to get revenge on someone who effed you over. and then you bump into some other craziness and have to kind of pick a side in the game.
Yes.
But every decision is up to you wholeheartedly. So you start bringing in things like factions and the pure reputation system, where if I'm wearing something from a rival gang, people may see me and react different than if I wasn't wearing that. You know, my actions towards one rival may completely affect a different group of individuals. They may see me differently and give me different speech dialogue choices based on how I've been treating other people. So, I mean, what an amazing experience.
You know it, man. Yeah, and that having those factions and stuff and feeling like you were so in control versus being on that kind of straight and narrow path, no matter which, you know, I just loved it, man. I have to say, I'm sure it would come up in the comments, but this is definitely my favorite Fallout game.
Yeah,
like, I'd have to say, man, this is out of all of them so far, you know, this takes the cake for me.
Man, well, it's certainly got a lot to love about it, man. First up, they took us back out west to, you guessed it, Las Vegas, man. They showed us some of the Strip, some of how things are doing out there, some great story work behind why most of the Strip is still intact, what's going on there, how it manages to still kind of run as a city. I mean, just beautiful story work, but beautiful set pieces, the ambiance of it being so very different than Fallout 3, giving you this very almost Wild West sort of feel. You know, with all the, you know, lever action guns and revolvers and stuff, cowboy hats. This very, very much gave you a sort of Western Arizona, Nevada feel. You know, that was a super ton of fun. And the aesthetic of it was perfect and very eclectic because you had desert areas. You had the Hoover Dam. You know, you had the Strip. You had the weird mountain region where super mutants were hiding out in the forest, and it was like snowing. So it was like all over the map, dude. It was crazy. They also included a bunch of new enemy types. Those like cicada bugs that they had. And those invisible wolves or the invisible cats.
Oh, those are
crazy.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, even those bugs, like you said, when they came on the scene, you're like, oh,
They also had a bunch of unique and fun achievements, including, like we said, hitting people with a golf club could actually gain you certain achievements. It's particular people you have to kill with it. But what just a novel idea to include those types of melee weapons. I believe they also had boxing gloves that you could
you could even do you could do maneuvers, like you learn like hand-to-hand combat stuff. So
that's right. Yep.
They really did take it, you know, to that level, like where they took the base, you know, game mechanics that Fallout 3 had kind of created, and they were like, man, we're gonna modify these a little bit. You could also look down the sights. Finally, that was one thing you couldn't do in Fallout 3. And well, you could, but people complained that it wasn't as accurate. But,
it wasn't as nice as in New Vegas for sure. Look, Aurelia's joining us over there on Twitch. What's up? We were giving you some big ups earlier for backing the following casework, which did get funded. So awesome job. Thanks for helping us out there and helping those people realize their dream of publishing their comic. But we're pretty sure you're a Fallout fan. We're doing our retrospective tonight. We just made it into Fallout New Vegas. Let us know what your favorite Fallout game is. Let us know what your favorite part of New Vegas was. We'd love to hear it. I have to say, one of my favorite things about the game was not only with the reputation and speech dialogue stuff, but Caesar's Legion.
Those guys were some bad mofos, man.
This absolutely gets a rating of good Caesar from El Bandito, man, because this was such a wild idea, but what a great story that unfolds behind how these people came to be, how they've taken up the mantle of kind of ancient Rome and Caesar's Legion, and what a contrast they represent to NCR and the last bit of kind of the Americas there that's holding on.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, I think this is so great in the vein of, like, Mad Max and most post-apocalyptic movies where, like, it's been so far after, like, things were normal that people have completely gone bananas. And it's like, sometimes people question that with Walking Dead. They're like, well, really, it's only been like 6 years.
Yeah.
Should those people be talking different, like in a different language or something? But
hey, they justified that later. It did make sense in the story later.
It did.
But I know what you mean. But what's funny is that the people at the core of Caesar's Legion, they weren't insane people. They were incredibly intelligent people who realized that, like, these traditions and these foundations that they used in ancient Rome could still work to temper people and to get people in line and to form a group and a community that would follow them to the ends of the earth. And that's kind of what they set up. And your ability to 100% join Caesar's Legion, be a part of it, and help them rule New Vegas is probably one of the most compelling aspects of this game. The fact that you can be the utmost of a tyrant.
And that, yeah, like you were saying earlier, man, like this one really drives it where, yeah, we're sure if you looked at like, you know, the level tree of things that, yeah, there's only a certain number of outcomes you can get in this game.
Yes.
Just the fact that it offered those up where it wasn't just like, no, be the good guy. Come on, be the good guy. No, it was kind of like,
yeah,
the choice is yours.
Yeah, because I love that you could tell both the NCR and Caesar's Legion to pound sand if you wanted. Take New Vegas for yourself. Be the king of the strip. You know, there was still a fourth faction that you could help out in there, too. If you haven't played the game, go and check it out. It was voiced by Odo.
Yes.
From Deep Space Nine. Pretty cool, man. You got to hand it to him. They started with Ron Perlman and had great voice actors ever since.
I know that was something Party Man Will definitely pointed out when we were, you know, when I first started watching Deep Space Nine. I was like, hey, that guy sound familiar? But
Rene Abergeros. I don't know. His last name's a mouthful.
He's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Last Unicorn, all that stuff, man. Look, Aurelia down here says her favorite part of New Vegas was actually the amount of modding you could do. She says she knows it wasn't really part of the original game, but it created such a really big community around it, which is so true. So true that like the DLC that came out for Fallout 3 was really cool, really innovative. It was the first game I ever played DLC on, so that really blew my mind. But the modding that you could do starting with New Vegas and how much that got incorporated into Fallout 4, how they created the Creation Club based on the community that it started, absolutely is an impact that can't be ignored. So, good point.
I think even to this day, people are still modding New Vegas and creating like new game content.
Dude, they're modding Fallout 4 to include New Vegas. Like you can go to the strip in Fallout 4 now and fight a Deathclaw that looks like Macho Man. Come on, that's the best. You know?
Well, just like Fallout 3, I'm sure we could do a whole show on New Vegas. But we're going to tell you guys real quick what the scores were for Game Informer. They gave it an 8.5, so definitely lower than their Fallout 3 score. But why don't you go ahead and tell them what IGN thought?
Yeah, IGN still gave them a solid 9, which is good. And I'm going to say that these scores probably reflect the fact that, again, a lot of the core gameplay was probably the same, and maybe that's where they were kind of like, oh, there was some mechanics that they could have cleaned up. Like, they added a lot of stuff, but some things that were still a little not great even about Fallout 3 didn't get improved because they were kind of just using the same thing. I couldn't sit here and exactly pick out what things were, but you know, stupid buggy stuff. Major.
But those are still pretty high marks for both of those companies.
Yeah. And we can't ignore the moniker, because you get a new moniker in Fallout New Vegas, you become a wholly new character, and you're known throughout as the Courier.
Yes. I mean, all the other times, either you're on some quest or you're destined to do something or you're by yourself and you got to figure it out. Here it's just like you're just trying to do a job. Your job got messed up and you got to find out who messed up your job. But hey,
I love it. It's like you're a postman who's out there seeking vengeance. Like, how is that not a relatable story?
Don't say that to Uwe Boll. He'll try to make a postal movie about it. But no,
I think he did. Frederico, let us know what your favorite moment of the Fallout series is. We know you've dived into a bunch of those.
Oh
games.
my gosh, I honestly think Frederico might have Party Man beat on the amount of time that he's put in this game. I actually got him this game either as like a birthday or a Christmas present, and man, I think even up until like a year ago, he's like, man, I still put that on and go shoot everybody. I was like, well, I think you're supposed to keep some of those guys. Like, I just shoot everybody.
They're fine. Well, New Vegas is an exciting game. I know I showed this to a buddy of mine years ago, and one of the first things I showed him was that Deathclaw Valley.
Oh, geez,
that one that you couldn't get through. And I was like, nah, dude, you don't want to go that way. You can't go that way. And he was determined to do it. And he almost made it. I have to say, he almost made it. He got stuck in that little, it's like a freight car that's trapped in there. And he was inside of it. So he was at the halfway point, and he couldn't quite make it to the other side. But what was interesting was that this same buddy of mine also used to like to hack people apart and then arrange their bodies into kind of ornate displays. So, Cool game, you know.
Well,
definitely a Caesar's Legion kind of guy.
Yes, yeah, you could see it. You see the writing on the wall, or in the sand, or in the dirt of all the various cadavers. You know? But hey, you know, October 19, 2010 was when this game was released. How long did we have to wait, El Bandito, before we got another Fallout game?
Oh, man. Before we got another official Fallout game, we'd have to sit on pins and needles for another 5 years, till November 14th, 2015. This is Rex. I forgot I put a slide of Rex in here. The companions were epic in New Vegas.
Yes.
This was my favorite. I loved them totally. Okay, Frederico says incendiary 50 cal rounds gets you through Deathclaw Valley, no problem.
And he
little
says,
winky face and all.
And he says definitely his favorite game of all time.
Nice, man. Well, like I was gonna say, some of the companions were super great in this. I know the super mutant that's like a lady,
Lily.
Lily, the old lady. That I completely botched her storyline. I felt so bad because I did not understand like who I was and was not supposed to kill there. Because you're like super mutant bad. But either way, I did manage to help out literally like every other companion and get like their good ending because I'm a good guy.
What was the one NCR guy? What was his name again?
Boone.
Boone
was the jam. He was kind of like a deacon, you know?
He was, yeah.
But man, he would get up there and he could snipe, dude, crazy. You just tell that guy, wait over here, and then go get into some shit, and they're like, zert, zert, zert.
Yeah, you're getting XP for stuff you don't even know you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, I was just standing here.
Yeah, and I mean, Rex was the same way. Rex would haul off and run 300 yards to kill something that I didn't even see as a player. And I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? You're getting me into shit we don't need to get into.
I like when Eddie, when he would start playing music, it was like, dun, 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 you just
like get psyched. But okay, so great companions, but 5 years would go by before they released Fallout 4, November 14th. So it looks like they're going to hit that anniversary again here.
Oh, yeah, man. But hey, at least it's only been, 2 years?
Yeah, only 2 years. But it's cool. I hope they keep it every November 14th, or every year that they release a game, it's November 14th. That'd be fun.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, this one we know is set 10 years after Fallout 3. Yeah. Still on the East Coast. Where's it set in?
This one is set in the Commonwealth of Boston.
Absolutely. So we had DC in 3, Vegas in New Vegas, and now we got Boston.
Absolutely, man. And I have talked to some actual Bostonians, some residents there, who have said that it has some pretty unerring accuracy when it comes to depicting the majority of Boston. They will say some of the suburban areas are clipped right out, so you'll like cross a bridge and about 8 miles is gone. But still, all the major landmarks are there. They're beautifully rendered. And being able to walk the Freedom Trail in-game is very similar to walking the Freedom Trail in real life. So that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
It's great to bring that sort of history to kids. I think that's such a smart thing. It was something Assassin's Creed, I think, was very great at, was bringing a lot of history in the guise of a game to people.
Oh, yeah.
But Fallout 4 has kind of masterfully done this in its story of kind of patriotism and personal freedom, and including the Freedom Trail, the railroad, and a lot of American history in it. It's just awesome.
Totally, man. And like we said earlier, man, whenever you take that big jump to the next generation, a lot of the gameplay was modified as well. Now, I know, like we said early on, one of the great things about Fallout was the dialogue system.
Yes.
Now, Fallout 4 definitely changed that. You could still use different dialogue, but no longer did your skill. You really don't even have skills anymore. It's more kind of just a attribute of one of your other ability scores or your perks that you've chosen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like in it, you could still choose things, but sometimes you wouldn't say exactly what it said. So I know some people were a little, hard on it for that. But man, the gameplay. Yeah. It was so good, man. I think the combat is like evolved,
Yeah, I have to say one of the things about dialogue that I found the most interesting was they no longer paused the game. Like you'd be talking to someone and people are just getting killed. Shit's going on all around you. And you're just having a conversation. And some people would disengage. Like if you're talking to them and something goes down, they just leave. Yeah. They don't want to talk to you anymore. And that's brilliant. They were really getting into the concept of people having a rhythm, having a pattern, that certain people would go to bed at a certain time. I know you mentioned that about Red Dead.
Yes.
And sure, often their responses don't change with what they're doing, which I think is the big advancement there in Red Dead. But it was cool to be like, where's McCready at? Oh, he's asleep somewhere? I got to go wake him up. Like, get up, you bum. We got stuff to do. You know? So that was really interesting. But also, again, the various amounts of choices you could make and how they would affect each individual person was stellar.
Sure. And, you know, we can't go without saying, if we're going to talk about gameplay and all that stuff, like, you could get power armor in the other games, but man, you know, in this game it really was like an additional piece of equipment, you know, versus
no
just
doubt.
something you wore.
I mean, it was almost like a vehicle or your horse in Red Dead. I mean, it was something so personal, something that you would upgrade and equip and change stylistically and change the look of, you know. I mean, here we see the world of Boston, just fantastically rendered, beautiful city. The fact that so much of the sky changes while you're there, it rains sometimes, things like that, all beautifully rendered, is just incredible about this next-gen console, right? But again, that first-person perspective from the power armor was outstanding. You know how it'd make you a 1.5 feet taller.
Yep.
You know, you get this great readout of all these different things, having to keep track of your fusion cores. I mean, so many innovative and brilliant ideas that went into this that at first seemed scary.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they seem scary when you're like, I got to get into my power. I could leave my power armor suit somewhere and lose it. Dude, people can get in my power armor and take it. You know? Like, there's a lot of really scary things that were just innovative and in the end made the experience so much more worthwhile.
Yeah, it was like your own little private tank. It's like, well, let me evaluate this. Do I need to take the power armor for this mission? Or
I love the fact that you could upgrade and level up and build enough clothing that you didn't need power armor anymore.
Yes.
I thought that was a very
agree.
smart choice, was to give you the ability to do that. Especially, there are some railroad missions. I know you didn't do a lot of railroad stuff, so I don't know if you ever got this aspect of it, but Pam would give you some missions where you could get a sort of equipment thing that would help you build like bulletproof clothing.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
so like I have like a dress that's like got like 100 resistance or something. It's crazy. You know.
Now, like we were saying, I mean, definitely the gameplay, you know, even that still exists, you know. It was
again, it functions in real time.
Yes.
So like time elapses, although it does slow down time to kind of attribute your enhanced reflexes. But time is continually moving.
Yeah,
so
you could still get injured. You don't now just have infinite amount of time to choose what you want to do.
Yeah, and again, that was something that people groaned about. They were like,
Sure.
oh, man. But then when you play it, it makes sense. It's never so hindering that it makes VATS suck. No, you still use it a super ton, you know?
It was fun, and the story was still good. It was still very much a Fallout story. I know some folks have complained that this kind of reverts back more to the Fallout 3. You're on one line. I mean, you still have choices for factions, so they kept that, but ultimately it's still going to round out a certain way versus where in New Vegas you felt like, man, I am really in control here. So
yeah, there was never an option to be a bad guy. Like all of the 4 factions, I think I have a representation of them here. We'll come back to that slide. But yeah, all of the 4 major factions, starting with the Railroad here next to me, and then the Minutemen, and then you've got the Brotherhood of Steel, and finally the Institute. You know, any of those 4 factions, they all kind of have a good point in what they're doing. Their ideologies are all different, but no one's just evil. No one's just trying to take control or be bad people. You know, I mean, you could say that the Brotherhood of Steel is somewhat genocidal, you know, which is frowned upon, of course, but their motivation seems pure at heart, you know, like they just want humans to prosper. So there's no evil force here. Caesar's Legion was like, no, we're going to burn the world and take it over, and everyone's going to do what we fucking say.
Yeah.
You know, so that was like the big difference there that I know a lot of people really latched onto, that opportunity to just be vile.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have that opportunity so much in real life, you know, that it seems like this is a fantasy. But I do think there is a place for it. I do think one of the 4 or a 5th faction that would just be a raider group type thing wouldn't be completely out of line. But I do understand and love how all 4 of these factions all linchpin off the same plot line, you know, and that makes a lot of sense. And it's got to be difficult but not impossible to incorporate an evil faction into that. I mean, obviously did that in New Vegas. So.
Well, I was gonna say, I know we haven't spoken much on DLCs, and I think like we said, those could be like their own show. But just I know they did eventually come out with Nuka World, which really did open you into more evil, level raider groups. So they definitely later on were like, okay, if you guys really want something like that, we're going to give you something.
They got the message, and that's the great thing about DLC and updates nowadays is that they can really kind of work on or fix things. But there wasn't a lot that needed fixing in the main story. Like the main story makes a lot of sense. It holds a lot of water. The factions are fantastic, and like I said, there's so much history revolving around each one. I mean, I mentioned the Railroad earlier and all that they do, but think about the Minutemen and what they represent.
Oh yeah,
the castle that is such a major component, being an American fort. Things like that. Even the Brotherhood of Steel really lending into the mythos of the game more than anything else. But the Institute kind of carrying on that legacy of science first, the whole MIT sort of thing, the Harvard, the Ivy League Boston area kind of makes a lot of sense. And again, explains to you part of the culture in that area that a lot of people may not have been exposed to. So there's a lot of cultural and informational reference in this game that I think is invaluable.
Man, and we're just literally scratching the top surface. Like there's like 400 hours of like non-related main story gameplay. That stuff you could just kind of come across. And hey, if you want to go follow this kid because he's telling you there's some crazy creature out in the water, you could do it. Or you could say, yeah, kid, get out of here, you're bothering me, and continue on with your main story. So there's just a ton of stuff. Why don't we go ahead and tell them what this game scored from those two companies?
No doubt, man. Well, Game Informer gave them a solid 9, while IGN threw a 9.5 at this one, saying it was a damn near perfect game, man. And I do not blame them. I think this is probably one of, if not my favorite games of all time. And it's my favorite Fallout game. It is.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why it's my favorite Fallout game. It's because of this slide we skipped.
Oh, who's that right there? What is that?
This is a structure.
Oh, the structure. Okay.
That a devoted Fallout fan has built. And I grabbed this photo because it was readily available, but I'll have to grab some photos of my own and post them up online sometime. Maybe I'll throw them in the Legion of Love or something.
Do it.
But my favorite thing about this game, its innovation, its thing that blew my mind yet again in the Fallout series, was being able to build things and being able to customize the world that I live in, that I can build my own home and say is mine. Now, in previous games, in both Fallout 3 and New Vegas, the inside of places I lived at were littered with things I had found on my adventures, because I would lug them back home and I'd use their little automated system to kind of set it on a table. And sure, next time I came in, it'd fall over or flop around or whatever. But I wanted to have that there. I had over 1,000 items in my apartment in Novak. I mean, this thing would take like 48 seconds to load after the scene loaded. Or when you hit the door to walk into the apartment. Yeah. So I loved that. I love that collector's aspect of it. And in Fallout 4, where they gave you the opportunity to just completely create your own structure, not only for yourself but for the settlers that you needed to keep track of. Now I know Preston Garvey with that gotta help settlers shit was a little out of hand. But I will admit, I love my settlers. I keep track of them. I visit Somerville, and I go to the Slog, and I check on everybody. I see how they're doing. I build little encampments for them to hang out in, nice places for them to sleep. I build them recreational areas with jukeboxes and pool tables, and I bring pool balls and pool cues because you can't build them. So I got to bring, or you couldn't in the original. I don't know if they added a thing for that. But, I'd bring them and throw them on the table there. No one picks them up and no one uses them, but I know that they're there. They're my people. So
you're a man of the people.
I am. I love it. And I built structures as tall as freeways for, my settlers to live in. So I absolutely love this aspect. Probably spent 40 or 50 hours alone constructing my own personal home that sits atop Red Rocket, is 4 stories tall. and larger than Red Rocket itself. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, I'm sure, the team that put together this aspect of the game, man, are so happy. And it seems that not only just you, like there's been a lot of people who really enjoy the base building piece of the game. Because, I know we're going to talk some more about Fallout 76 in a bit, but it seems like that's becoming so much more of a piece of the upcoming game, which I can't wait to see what you put your mind to in there.
Well, I got to say this, man. One thing that I also found super interesting about this game, but did not take advantage of because I'm a doofus, is the fact that you do not receive a moniker in this game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Pretty much every character in the game who has actual voice dialogue will call you by your chosen name.
Yes.
Whatever you pick in-game. They say there's something like 100,000 names or something in there. Of course, I created my own name for my character, so no one ever called me that. They just call me Blue or, whatever.
They had a little, pet name for it.
Yeah. But,
Sir.
yeah. But I was so jealous when I realized some of my friends had chosen names that the players would actually say. And I was like, that is pretty epic, man. So really, really cool aspect to have there.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we've gone through the numeric series and, of course, New Vegas.
Yes.
But, man, there are more games in the Fallout universe that maybe not be canon and maybe have been canceled, but we're going to talk a quick bit about them after some PoDunk news.
Absolutely, guys. We hope that you're enjoying our Fallout retrospective and having a lot of fun with us tonight as we learn and discuss some of these epic games. Feel free to throw some comments down there. Let us know what your favorite parts of any of the Fallout series is, whether it's Fallout, Fallout 2, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, or Fallout 4. Feel free to share your stories in the comments below, and let's have a blast with it. Otherwise, we're going to jump right into some PoDunk news and tell you about the most important stuff going on this beautiful week.
Let's do it.
PoDunk news.
All right, man, it's time to talk about some of the craziest stories going on out there in the PoDunk world. But, man, I know this first story isn't, well, it's crazy, but, man, it definitely.
It's sad.
Very sad.
It's straight up sad. Stan Lee passes at the age of 95, man. The legend himself, Stan the Man. He was getting up there, and he was in such great spirit and health whenever you'd see him at cons and stuff like that, if I could be anywhere close to 95 with the faculties that he's had, I would be so happy.
That's exactly what I would say, El Bandito, man. Like if I could just make it to 95, I'll feel pretty good.
That's true.
Man, if you could be at the level, real quick, I know we got to see Stan a few years ago do a panel, but man, even at that time, he was so sharp and so with it, man. It's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Just witty and fun and engaging and kind, and I know there's been a lot of back and forth over the years with him and his dealings with Marvel and different companies that try to take it over, things with artists and him being the writer and different editor, different things like that, man. But ultimately, he had so much great stuff to say about people, so much great stuff to say about comics, and so many wonderful things to say about what being a hero truly is. Because when you think about the characters that Stan Lee created, it was a world of people who were flawed and broken people, people who at the time in the 60s would have been kind of shunned by society, people who were born different, people who were in a wheelchair, people who were blind. These weren't people that were very socially accepted then. But not only did he make them accepted, but he made them excel. So he changed the definition of what a handicapped person is.
Exactly.
And in doing so, just created this legacy that no matter how kind of jacked up a person is, whether you have extreme anger issues like the Hulk, or you're a complete narcissist like Tony Stark, or you're a scared kid with a smart-ass mouth like Peter Parker, you fit into the mold of a hero. And that was a great lesson for anyone who could pick up a comic and read that you didn't have to be born on Krypton and be perfect and be the super Boy Scout. You didn't even have to be Captain America, the super soldier with the heart of gold. You could F up a little bit, but still choose to do the right thing when it mattered. And because of that, I think he has the amazing legacy that he does. The characters that he pioneered will live on for decades to come.
Yeah.
And I would definitely just advise all of the beautiful people out there, the Legion of Love listeners, man, to celebrate the passing of Stan Lee by visiting a local brick-and-mortar comic shop of your choosing. Pick up a comic, celebrate the art and the work that he dedicated his life to.
Oh, yeah. And, hey, if you have an idea, don't just think about it. Do it. That's one thing Stan would want, definitely get out there and make it happen, because that's what he did, So definitely it's a inspiration to all. So definitely. And, hey, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm sad he's not going to be, like, in the upcoming movies. Well, guess what? He's legacied in all those other films. He ain't going nowhere from there. So every time you watch him, give a little smile, because Stan's going to be there.
No doubt. And I know that filming has already wrapped on both the second part to Infinity War and Captain Marvel. So his cameos are to be expected still there. And there are some rumors that he filmed a number of cameo appearances ahead of time that they may include in further films as well.
Post-mortem, I think is what they consider those.
But what's great is in the Netflix series and the Defenders, Jessica Jones and things like that, he's always featured in the background on a poster, on a billboard, or something like that. So I'm sure his legacy will continue to appear in all of the works that he influenced. So
awesome. Well, rest in peace, Stan. Hopefully you're up there hanging out with all the other greats and looking down on us and making sure, everyone keeps on trugging along and creating great things.
No
Excelsior.
Doubt. Enough said. All right. So, unfortunately, we got a double dose of sad news tonight. Also, actor Douglas Rain has passed away at the age of 90. He was the voice of the deadpan computer HAL 9000 in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, anyone that's into, science fiction knows that. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do that, Dave.
Exactly, man. And just that
this
voice.
Thing's been parodied so much, seeing this. From Futurama, just Doctor Who, all sorts of places you see the HAL 9000 stuff. So
it, man. And same thing, man. 90, man. Like I'm telling you, hopefully this is like a thing to drive on. That okay, man. Oh, I've still got a lot of time left here. We got to make the best of it. Yeah,
no doubt, man.
But definitely, also rest in peace to Douglas Rain.
No doubt. We'll throw him some love too.
Oh yeah,
just because we're all about spreading the love. All right. Well, getting on to some wild news this week, man. We know that Microsoft Studios has acquired Obsidian Software. That's right. The company we told you guys was behind Fallout New Vegas has actually just been bought by Microsoft. What does that entail, Senior Boy?
Oh, man. Well, there's a lot. Like you said, definitely one of our favorite games being New Vegas, but they were also behind South Park: The Stick of Truth, which was the first game in that series. And also this game is like legendary in its own right. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, which I know a lot of people cite as, I don't know where that falls on that list of, best RPGs of all time, but I know it's on there. But,
well, Obsidian brings a valuable RPG know-how to Microsoft Studios, man. It's unclear how this acquisition will currently affect Obsidian's untitled RPG that's been talked about and rumored. But that RPG is being led by the Fallout co-creators, Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky. But it's in development by Take-Two's Private Division label. But that was kind of in association and through Obsidian. So we're not sure if that acquisition by Microsoft is going to include that or affect that in some way. Will Microsoft now have to make decisions for them? We're not sure. But it'd be great to see the original kind of co-creators of Fallout kind of, throwing out something new.
Oh, it, man. Like we said, like that was... I don't want to give the only credit to New Vegas being because those original guys were on the team, but, it definitely has to lend a hand.
Yeah,
so
can't hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see. And it seems like, Microsoft is beefing up that extra department that they have now where they're just collecting studios. So we'll have to see what they put out.
Yeah, they're bound to put out something good here, right? You made a great point that you said that one of their worst knocks from Sony is their exclusives. That Sony has so
Yes.
many great exclusives. So hopefully this will help bolster Xbox's ability to create their own exclusive content. Although personally, I hate exclusive games. I think they should be for everybody, regardless of your console choice. But that's me.
Definitely, man. We'll have to see, man. But I know we got our next story coming in, man. We're digging into the comic realm here.
Yep.
Ooh, who knows this guy right here, man? He looks a little different than probably the last time you saw him. Well, a few months ago, we reported that the Penguin had been shot by the Red Hood in an ongoing series, and we just want to let you guys know. Just like most things in comics, even sometimes the villains never die. Oswald has survived, minus one eye, but it seems
They gave him the coral.
Yeah. There you
coral.
go. No, I think you were right, man. They should put that glass bottle in there like they did in the Arkham series.
That
just
was
looks
so cool,
so
man.
badass, yeah.
I mean, totally impractical. Like, I'm fairly certain that would super kill you.
Yes, but so
you could get an
cool.
infection.
But man, so it seems since this happened to the Penguin, he's become more ruthless and more conniving and more powerful.
Oh, man.
I mean, this is a character that started off as like a very just bird-themed villain. Even if you look at like the 1960s.
So wait, you're saying that the Penguin got shot in the face and he told the Red Hood that wasn't even my final form?
Pretty much, man. He's just I don't know who wouldn't get shot in the face and be totally pissed off afterwards, but man, I know he had like
I'm sorry, man. I think I'd probably stop messing with whoever shot me in the face. I can tell you that.
That's true. But the Penguin was already kind of mentally unstable.
Yeah,
so
he's pressing his luck here.
But a lot of people have put his recent actions in the comics almost very closely similar to a Marvel super villain. Who's that, El Bandito?
Oh, the Kingpin, man. They're saying that his ruthlessness kind of mirrors a lot of what's been going on in the Daredevil TV show and some of the history of Frank Miller's work throughout Daredevil. That very, very, very ruthless style of the Kingpin. So.
Now, what do you guys out there in the Legion of Love think when you think of the Penguin? I mean, I know some folks will think of Burgess Meredith, some people will think of Danny DeVito, a more deformed, nasty circus creature kind of style, or, more of what we see now on the Gotham TV show where he is more of a gangster.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Could he be considered a major enemy versus he's always part of the rogues gallery, that's no doubt, but I mean, is this a character that you think you could actually be afraid of?
Is he going to lean away from the goofy aspects of his character and more into the frightful ones? Because even the Batman animated series, he was never a goofy character.
Oh yeah.
He was very serious. He'd kill people. Things were dark. But the ruthlessness level of Kingpin, especially compared to Frank Miller's work or the TV show, that's like some next level brutality.
Yeah.
So do you even want to see the Penguin go to that level? And I have to say, man, if all this messed up stuff is happening to the Penguin, I think it just goes to show you what happens when Pee-wee's your dad. So,
now I have to
big ups to Paul Rubens, who played Pee-wee Herman and also the Penguin's dad in Batman Returns.
Yes, he did. And I know you haven't watched much of the show, but he also reprised that role.
In Gotham?
In Gotham,
wow, no way. Kudos
cool.
to Gotham for that. That's pretty dope.
Yes, very cool.
That's pretty cool. I saw him on Top Chef a few years ago, and he was Pee-wee. He was Pee-wee on there, yeah. They were in Texas, so they did it at the Alamo, and Pee-wee was there. And I was like, that's the best.
That is great. It's funny that we're talking about Paul Rubens. Real quick, the other night, me and the wife and kids were watching TV, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on.
Yeah, he was in that too.
Yeah, he was like the main lackey vampire. That was like real kind of goofy, but it's real funny to see his face and be like, man, that is Pee-wee. Yep.
No, but so in this Top Chef thing, because he was there and it was at the Alamo, right? They gave everyone a bicycle with a basket in it, and you had to take your food around in that and ride it from one place to the other and make sure it didn't get broken or destroyed or anything.
That's hilarious.
It was pretty funny, man. But okay, if we're gonna talk about like sweet ass cameos that we didn't even recall from years ago, I gotta share with everybody else the one neat thing. We've been catching up on The Walking Dead, watching a lot of it, watching the new season and stuff like that. A lot of you Walking Dead fans will know the character of Gregory. I was surprised earlier this week, man. I was showing my grandma for the first time ever the film Terminator 2, right? Now, John Connor's foster dad is the same actor that plays Gregory in The Walking Dead. And I was like, hey, it's so great to see that guy take one. And then, we watched some of the new season. And I was like, there you go.
It is great to see a lot of these older faces. Like I said, I never knew. You showed me that earlier, and I was like, no way. But, man, even, I don't remember his, but, Biff Tannen, the guy who plays Biff, he's been showing up on Legends.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
great to see these old
and
faces.
I love your comment when I was like, hey, dude, did you see that actor that plays Biff was the guy in Legends? And you're like, dude, I hope he calls someone a butthead.
Yeah,
He's got to call someone a butthead.
He's got to call. He's got to be like, get over here, butthead, or get away from him, butthead.
I hope he calls Constantine a butthead. That'd be great.
That would be pretty funny. Especially since he's smoking all the time. He could be a butthead, All right.
Oh, man. All right, getting back to the PoDunk news here, man. We got a little bit of fun tangent there. We're low-key excited for the new Loki series coming out, man. Tom Hiddleston has confirmed on his Twitter by tweeting, Loki, more stories to tell, more mischief to make, more to come. It sounds like Bill Iger, the president of the kind of Disney over there with the Fox merger stuff, his comment about there being a series based on both Loki and another one based on the Scarlet Witch sounds like it's actually happening. And Tom Hiddleston is down. He is in for some more Loki action, man. And Loki's army out there is losing it, man. I won't lie. I'm a part of Tumblr. I'm a part of Loki's army. I don't ever comment, but I like to read a lot of that stuff. And they are losing their marbles out there, and it is awesome. They are so excited. They want to see if he'll get the justice he deserved after getting crappily dispatched in Avengers 4. And I have to say that I really do think there's more to his story, even in the next Avengers movie. But that's.
We'll have to wait
for the
and
future.
see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Yeah.
Well, I think this will be great because it will really give us an idea of what Disney's going to do with these, character shows on their network.
Yes.
And I mean, hey, if it's awesome, man, I'll sign up and check them out.
No doubt. Well, I mean, it's Disney and you have kids. Bam.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason not to get this.
It's a win-win, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, this Loki series will be featured exclusively on the Disney streaming service, set to launch next year.
Oh yeah.
All right, so next up, let's head on over and do some local love.
Oh, yeah, man. I know last week, Justin K was telling us all about this awesome, tradition beer fest that was going on.
Yep.
Man, so we said, hey, why don't we keep it going with the drinks in November, man?
It's the holiday season, man, so why not head out to the Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail?
Absolutely, man. This is Saturday, November 17th. It's going to be taking place down in Summer Crush Vineyard and Winery are putting it on in Fort Pierce, but also it's going to consist of a bunch of different breweries that are in downtown Fort Pierce. So now what's cool about this is if you buy a ticket in advance, it's only $20.
That's
and
good.
man, you get a little drink at each one of these places.
Yeah.
If it's the day of the event, it's $25. But man, this sounds like a good time where you'll be walking around. Who knows? Maybe they'll have some stuff going on as well.
Dude, that sounds like a hell of a deal. I mean, 2 bottles of wine anywhere is going to cost you $20.
Exactly.
I mean, even if you get like a $6.99 bottle of wine, you're still in for $15, $18 or $25 to taste like 5 different wines or something.
You know it, man. And plus, you're walking around probably with a little group of folks as well, probably sharing the good times, man, sharing the good wines.
Yeah, every drink you take, your group starts looking hotter and hotter. It sounds like a great time.
There you go, man. So this is going to be going on 1 p.m. to 5. So I guess it's not just one tour. I don't know if it's a self-guided or if they kind of have numerous groups kind of going around.
It's just one tour that takes 5 hours of walking around.
Could be.
No, I doubt it.
But it sounds like a really good time, so definitely go on and check out the Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Festival.
Heck yeah,
Trail
guys.
Festival.
Yeah, it's the Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail Festival.
Exactly.
So, I don't think they needed the festival. I think they could have just left it at Trail personally.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. They might have been afraid. Some people around here be like, well, wait, does that mean we got to go drink in the woods or something like that?
That's a good point. They're like, we got them axe murderers in the woods out there, man.
Woo! Got Danny DeVito waiting for you.
But this sounds like a lot of fun. So head over to their Facebook page, man, and you can check out more information about this event. Sign up, head on down, have a great time. Let them know the Power Hour sent you.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you stop by hanging out downtown Fort Pierce, man. Stop by PP Cobb. Tell them we said what's up. Get one of their paninis. God, they're so good.
Are we ready? Are we ready for some headlines, El Bandito?
I think so, man. Why don't we jump into this rapid fire segment of the news where we just tell you guys about the coolest headlines of the week. Let's do it.
All right, man. First on the list, man, Kevin Durand? Durand?
Yeah, like Duran Duran, right?
Really? Okay. He's known for his appearances on Lost, and he also played the Blob in X-Men Origins. I know a lot of us try to forget it. But the big news here is he's been announced that he will be playing Swamp Thing's villain, Dr. Woodrow, or the Floronic Man?
I think Floronic?
Floronic, man. My eyes are going really bad.
It's okay, man. I can make that bigger. I'll make that bigger.
This is going to be on the upcoming Swamp Thing show on the DC Universe service. So once again, man, here we go. Another service, but from what I hear so far, the content on there isn't half bad. Like,
F Batman.
I know. Supposedly it's been getting good reviews. I haven't checked it out yet, but we'll have to see.
I've never been that big of a Teen Titans fan for that to have been the big draw.
That's true.
You know, that I'm
That's
just like,
true.
But I realize it's super popular. So, hey, man, maybe a lot of people check it out. But it seems like the cartoon show that made it super popular isn't anything like this live-action show. So I don't really see where the connection is. But, hey, let's have some fun, man. Let's see what they do.
But Swamp Thing's always been a big favorite of a lot of DC fans out there, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do with this upcoming show.
Dude, Swamp Thing and Man Thing, they were both those ones that got like super big in the 70s when I think people were just way super on drugs and they were like, the mud's going to save the day, bro. Yeah, okay. So they never really struck a chord with me, man. But I will say this. They look awesome. Both of them, both Swamp Thing and Man Thing, look so cool all the time when you see them. So I get how people can get invested in it, but I can't get past if they don't leave the swamp, how do they go on adventures part?
The adventure comes to them.
Yeah, exactly, which is only so many times you can pull that cord, you know.
So what else do we got going on?
The poster was revealed for Once Upon a Deadpool. This is the PG-13 version of Deadpool 2 that will be in theaters this holiday season beginning December 12th.
Absolutely, man. I think this is a awesome move for Fox and Disney because they're just like, hey, you know what? We're going to recut this movie, add a few new things in, and make a lot of money.
I think this is one of the craziest things I've seen in a long time, but the fact that they're actually going to have Deadpool like doing these cutscenes in between the film as though he's reading the story of Deadpool 2 to Fred Savage, who's reprising his role from The Princess Bride, and he's kind of sitting there reading to him. It sounds like the perfect storm of insanity for Deadpool. I mean, such a fantastic film. I was having a discussion earlier today about the pitfalls that Infinity War fell into, especially regarding Loki and his streaming service and all this stuff, and the fact that, hands down, the story behind Deadpool 2 had clearer motivations, clearer plot lines, made a lot more sense, and still had a little bit of wonky time travel stuff at the end. And I'm like, ultimately, I think that's going to end up to be a more cohesive story than what we get out of Infinity War. And I'm kind of like, I don't know how to feel about that. So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. What do you guys think is a better kind of arc of a story? Which one do you think held more emotional weight and more water to you? Is it Infinity War so far, or was it Deadpool 2? Because that thing was that was a family movie right there, man. That had a great message.
I agree. I have to say that, like, after the first Deadpool, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was very surprised by how that one turned out.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, dipping into the PG-13 realm means that a lot of parents will be able to take their teenagers willy-nilly style to Deadpool and check it out, and a lot of teenagers will be able to just go by themselves to go and check it out. So all of the awesome money that Deadpool 2 has already made will only increase as they open up to a whole new age audience of viewers. So seems like a neat idea. I'm glad they did them separate, that we didn't just get stuck with a PG-13.
Yes.
So very, very cool on their part there, and this might be a lot of fun. I might have to go check this out.
There you go.
All right, next up. Oh, man. Marvel's newest Spider-Man is a disgusting nightmare. Okay? That's actually the headline when I found this story for the spectacular Spiders-Man, right? So we all seen this cool new cowboy Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse series happening in comics now, but this is their newest and hottest creation, the Spiders-Man, who is literally a collection of spiders that fill a Spider-Man costume, thereby animating it and making it come to life, and, you know, being titled Spiders. Man. So this is like horrifying to me, you know, like I love Spider-Man. I don't think there's many people who are super comfortable with spiders. I definitely get the willy-nilly about them. I try to be cool with spiders kind of because of Spider-Man. You get that in your head of like, well, you know, Spider-Man shouldn't be mean to spiders, and you just automatically hate them. They're just other creatures. They're not icky or weird. But then you see something like that, and you're like, that's icky and weird. I don't like it.
It definitely is a departure from most. I mean, you guys thought Venom was scary. It's like, get a load of this one.
Yeah, look at that. Aurelia's like terrifying. It is, man. So I just think it's super weird. But I love how part of the costume's ripped and like spiders are just falling out of it all over the place. And I'm like, I'd love to see what happens to, like, you know, the Wolverine-esque character who just tears his costume apart.
Woo.
And spiders just run all over him. I mean, oh, gosh. That is crazy, man. So
absolutely,
make
man.
sure, if you're heading down to your local comic shops, if you're celebrating and remembering Stan Lee, grab a copy of Spiders-Man, dude. This was one of Stan Lee's most favorite books that he worked on was Spider-Man. One of the most brilliant and innovative stories ever told, and the fact that its legacy carries on into crazy shit like this is so cool, guys. So if you're on your way out there anyways, might as well pick it up.
You know it, man. All right, so our last story of the night. We haven't talked about wrestling in a long time, so I thought we'd throw this in here. Big thing, WrestleMania 35 next year. But the rumor that has it going is that the WWE is trying to secure The Rock to take on Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, man.
So that would definitely be a rematch that a lot of people have been waiting for. Originally, it was supposed to be Triple H, but just recently when they were over there overseas, he got injured, so they're not banking on him actually being able to participate, even though it's so many months from now. The injury was pretty serious, but then also recently revealed, I'm not even sure if you've heard about this, El Bandito, but Roman Reigns had to relinquish his title because he has leukemia.
Yeah, I did hear about that, man.
So.
That's pretty sad news for him. But I would be super stoked to see The Rock come back. I think he's phenomenal, a great athlete. I know he's related to Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure they're all kind of dealing with that on one front. But it would be a good way to kind of honor him to come and do the match. Yeah. So, I hope he has the time to do it. I know he's busy in Hollywood. He's doing a lot of stuff. Sometimes those schedules just don't work out. But if it does, I think that's kudos to The Rock, man. And I will 1,000% check that out.
You know it, man. And I know the last time he participated, he got like a little injury. So I know his agent was like, "Oh, no. That's it." So I think they're definitely trying to work something over here. So we'll have to see what happens in March of next year, or April. March or April. Sometimes it falls in March, sometimes in April. But definitely in that springtime, we'll be seeing WrestleMania 35.
No doubt, man. Now, where's it being held this year?
This year it's up in New Jersey. They say New Jersey, New York, but it's in New Jersey. You know,
don't try to church it up.
They do. Yeah. They do. But
well, apparently, wherever you're at in Jersey, you can look across and see the Empire State Building, or not the Statue of Liberty. Sorry.
There you go.
Which is the crown there for the logo. I love the logo. I think it's great.
It is very cool.
I really dig it. I love DC's comment down there. He's like, "Spiders, man." Like it is the hyphen, like Spiders, man. But I am saying it kind of Tommy Chong style, aren't I? I'm like, Spiders, man.
Well, definitely. Well, that will wrap us up for PoDunk News tonight. We still got some stuff to talk about with Fallout. We'll try to make it nice and quick. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us late into the after hours here. But, man, we got some real neat stuff to tell you about. You know, some areas of the Fallout, universe that you may not know about. So why don't we get back into our room, and we're going to dig into that right now.
I got lost there.
Hey everybody, we're back here, and I love that intro, El Bandito. Us going,
Oh, you like that?
Leaving the vault.
Well, we're leaving the vault, and we're going to celebrate the tricentennial. So let's throw it up there. There we go.
We'll
finish the show out with some love for Fallout 76. It's in anticipation for its release here on Wednesday, I believe. Right?
You got it, man. You got it. But hey, before we dive into the newness of Fallout 76, let's talk about some games that maybe we're set in the Fallout universe, but don't exactly hold the canon. I don't mean like a cannon that you fire. We mean like the mythology.
All right. So first and foremost, we're talking about Fallout Tactics. Why don't you tell them a little bit about this?
Well, this one came out in 2001, which would consider it the final game in the PC run before Fallout 3 kind of rolled in. But the thing is this game was very much different. There was a lot of games coming out at the time that were more tactics based, where you built like a group and you just kind of took them on little mini missions and accomplished things, versus this being like an open world RPG.
Yeah, so this ends up being more like a real time strategy game.
Yes,
right? Yeah, like
absolutely.
sort of Warcraft or StarCraft style. Where you make little groups of guys and send them out to conquer your enemies, sort of thing.
Exactly. I mean, it still had a story, but it was very loosely based on.
Yeah, it wasn't an RPG. Basically,
Correct.
It was this real-time strategy game, and I love those style of games. Warcraft and StarCraft was my jam back in the day. So I would love to get my hands on this. I got to dip into Steam and grab this.
Definitely, man. Like you said, it's probably on sale right now. Being that Fallout 76 is coming out, we'll have to definitely check it out. We'll post that in the Legion of Love. But this game did take place in the Midwest, which is probably the closest to the Fallout, the later Fallout games that we had ever been at that time. But it is listed as non-canon. There's some stuff mentioned about DC and New York that don't exactly mesh with what we got later on. So that would about wrap it for Fallout Tactics. But there's one other game that I would probably say, if any of the Legion of Love could call this one out, I give you a lot of props.
All right. The next one I have is Fallout Shelter. I don't think that was the game you were talking about.
Sorry, yeah, okay. We had one other game. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure the Legion could definitely call this one out.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had two separate games there. You have Fallout Brotherhood of Steel on Xbox and PS2.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there was a I'm trying to think of what the game would be considered. Remember like the True Lies game that we played where it was like top down and you kind of shot like it was that style of game that came out on like the Xbox and PS2 set in the Fallout universe. So it sounds very interesting, and it did have some of the role play mechanics brought back in, but it still wasn't the traditional Fallout, but probably more closer to what we've known today, where you're more controlling a guy actually blasting people.
Yeah, no doubt, man. But 2015 also saw the release of Fallout Shelter. This predated Fallout 4, kind of got the hype up for that. Was very exciting. They actually announced it earlier that year at the E3 conference that not only were they developing this game, but it was finished and was available for release that night.
Ooh, so awesome.
The next day you could get it only on Apple devices, which kind of stuck in my craw. Exclusivity be damned. But they did release this on Android and other devices later on, including the PC, which I think was a year or two later. They put it on PC, and that was awesome. Playing this on PC, I had a blast with. This is a resource management game. It was kind of developed as a mobile game, so a lot of it was like you click on these little squares and it like would blow up one room really big, and you assign people to work in it, and you're basically an overseer, and you're running your own vault. You're in charge of its development, its construction. You can add new buildings and services. You can train people, send them out into the wasteland where they would go on sort of a dice-rolled adventure of their own and return with goods and things that you could use throughout the vault. Your vault would also get attacked by either raiders or deathclaws or crazy things. Yeah. So you got to like equip a bunch of your guys with weapons to fight them off and stuff. But I loved how you could play through and like kind of name children as they were born in the vault. And I would like name them like sort of amalgams of their parents' names. So I got like 8 or 10 generations in where some kids great grandparents were in like my original vault. Long since died. And I got this kid with 47 digits as a name. So it was a really interesting game. It was cool, and kind of resource management. Very fun.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like you said, for when it came out, I know there was other games out there that were kind of similar. But then I know we reported that this game was actually ripped off, right, by another company to try to make a Westworld game.
Oh, it was WB. I'll call their asses right out. They're like in charge of like ripping shit off all the time, making a far less superior copy of a decent game.
Well, definitely, that just goes to show you, yeah. What is that? The whole imitation flattery thing?
No, that's true. And I shouldn't dump on WB. I'm sure they have a lot of great people that do a lot of great stuff. But we can all agree that Arkham's Origins wasn't the best in the series.
Oh, yeah.
They did do some cool stuff. Their multiplayer stuff was very cool. So I'm just being crappity because the Westworld thing was a little dirty, but it's all good.
Even though this is a great game that's still available today, it's considered non-canon because, like we said, it's management, and you actually can get characters from the other Fallout games to join your vault. In here, you get them as like special prizes and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think Tenpenny lives in my vault.
There you go. See, there you go. I'm sure he's just as devious there as he was.
Dude, you get his little card, and he's like he's like so excited just to help out. I'm like, go, work in the reactor, and he's just like so happy to do whatever. I send him out on missions a lot because his stats are like badass.
There you go. See, like you said, it's a very fun management game that you can play on your phone or your iPad or whatever, or device or tablet.
Yeah, or even PC now.
There you go.
Full-fledged on a PC. So that's a ton of fun, guys. I would definitely recommend if you ever have a little Fallout fix and you're out and about, you could download this somewhere and have some fun with it.
Oh, yeah. All right, man. I've been waiting to talk about this one. This is actually one of the few Fallout games that were canceled. So but it was probably about 25% completed when it was canceled. It really is the original Fallout 3, but has become known as Fallout Van Buren.
He was our 8th president.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Good little thing there. Now, not a whole lot's known about the story. But the way that it played out that we do know is that you were going to start the game as a prisoner. And during character creation, you could choose if he was wrongly imprisoned or guilty, which I thought was kind of a cool little thing for RPG right there.
Guilty.
The game would feature an ongoing war between the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel, which that might sound a little familiar. And the game would also introduce Caesar's Legion into the Fallout mythos. So if you guys have been paying attention, there's a lot of these things that sounded like they ended up later on in Fallout New Vegas.
Including the final battle being at Hoover Dam.
Absolutely, man. So it's really neat to see that even though this game never saw the light of day, that the developers behind it were still able later to have it live in one way or another in another game. So I thought that was worthwhile, to mean that this was technically what Fallout 3 was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think it was in development like 2003 or 2004. So the graphics were going to be better, but
yeah, I mean, obviously this shows the kind of 3D sort of aspects they may have been leaning toward, but it seems like somewhere along the line they realized like, hey, we got to jump to a wholly different engine and rebuild this from the ground up, and I think that technical aspect of it was when they were like, if we're going to push the envelope, we can't do it with what we're doing.
It, man. And there was a lot of acquisitions going on there, like Interplay went under, or they downsized where they lost some of their licenses and stuff. And right around that time, Bethesda had completed, they'd completed Morrowind, but they were working on Oblivion, but they were in the shop to look for other things to acquire. And I guess that Fallout was on the desk, and they were like, hey, you know what? We loved playing this game back in the day. Yeah, and the rest is, as they say, history.
No doubt, man. It seems like they knew that would be able to meet the aspects they were looking for in game, the Elder Scrolls kind of platform, So.
And I just think it's so cool that some of these elements did make it. Like, I would love to get my hands on even just the 25% just to see what that game entailed. But it's probably just broken into pieces. Like we said, this is probably the best image we could even find.
I want to know why they call it Van Buren.
I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
interesting, right?
yeah,
I'm going to have to look that up later.
Like I said, a lot of the stuff when you look for the story, it's
Yeah.
all just bits and pieces.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
feel free if you find out, like, to share it with us.
Oh, no doubt, man. But again, that's going to bring us full circle back to November 14th, 2018, which is only 2 days away, where we'll be celebrating our tricentennial and the release of Fallout 76, which is going to take place in 2076.
Absolutely, man. And like I was really wondering if early on one of the Legion of Love were going to pipe in and be like, are you guys actually going to have like 75 games that you're going to go through? But now you know. It's Reclamation Day in 2076 and Vault 76. So
Absolutely, guys. So this sounds like a super stellar game. We're super psyched about it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it in another program weeks to come. We may even do a playthrough review or some live Twitch streaming or something as we get our hands on this. The base game, of course, goes for $60, which is a
Yes.
steal, man. Normally games nowadays are like $69,
you know it.
But the Tricentennial Edition, which I know is the one I got my hands on, comes with a little poster and some Uncle Sam kind of stuff. Your little Uncle Sam Vault Boy stuff. That's going to run you about $79.99. The original Power Armor Edition that they released shortly after E3 was $199.
Yes.
And that came with a fully functioning Power Armor helmet that had like voice modulation, a lamp, and all sorts of cool stuff. But that has long since been out of stock everywhere.
Yeah, it's
So-
hard to find. Well,
So it
definitely,
is.
man. Definitely an awesome run through of the history of Fallout. We hope you guys have enjoyed it. And who knows what the future holds, man. There's a lot of things out there that people are suggesting. Maybe they're saying there'll be a Boneyard game, which is the LA setting, which is completely taken over by feral ghouls. Maybe it'll be New Orleans where, Bethesda team is teased that they've gone out to check out, which I'm sure when they do these things, they go and they check these places
They
out.
probably take hundreds of photos there and stuff.
And while it's been tagged as the most popular area by Bethesda that they'd love to do, I'm a little like, I hope they do someplace else. New York City has been pegged as possibly the setting for Fallout 5. What do you think about that?
I don't think it'd be bad. I think it would be a lot like Fallout 3 because that urban area that, you have to think they would try to obliterate New York off the map if they were an enemy country. I mean, come on, that's only common sense. So what part of New York would really survive? I don't know. I would love to see the New Orleans.
I think that'd be cool.
New Orleans just is an eclectic, very cultural city. Any fans of the show know I'm not a fan of the city myself. I've never had a super ton of great experiences there, but it is nice. The Mardi Gras aspect is nice. Culturally, it's such a rich city, my personal experiences aside. So I would love to see that represented in-game, and to learn more of the history and the culture without having to go there would be fantastic for me. But otherwise, the Boneyard setting, like you mentioned, in LA that was completely taken over by feral ghouls, if they made that game very similar to the concept we saw in that Overkill's Walking Dead game, that was like a survival horror game, that would be awesome, because one of my most favorite experiences playing Fallout was traversing the subway systems in Fallout 3, which is terrifying.
That is pretty...
It's very scary. It's filled with the feral ghouls and stuff, and a whole game kind of based around that concept would be very Resident Evil, very Walking Dead style, and I think that'd be great.
I think that's kind of what they were pushing for when they first pitched the idea. Walking Dead had really started to build its momentum, so naturally Bethesda was like, hey, we might be able, we've got our own brand of crazy ass zombies, we might be able to get in on this. But
no doubt, man.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. It's all coming down the pipeline. Bethesda's not stopping anytime soon, man. They have so much great stuff coming down the pipe. I cannot wait. David M, I see you out there, cuz. What's up, brother? And Aurelia says you guys should definitely try to stream it or release a playthrough. I'm sure we will. I am sure that we will. So look forward to that. We'll keep you guys posted. It'll probably be a few weeks. I'm a little bit selfish. I want to play the game a bit first. I don't want to share my initial reactions. But we might. We'll have to see.
And I know we've spent a lot of the show talking about Fallout and, of course, Stan Lee and all that.
Yes.
But also, happy Veterans Day, and thank you to all the veterans out there for all the awesome stuff.
Absolutely, man. We'll throw you guys some love out there. Now, I want to clarify, right, because I said that, and that might be a little weird for some people, of why I don't like sharing my initial reaction of the game. Dude, I will get all misty-eyed playing this game. I'm like, this is so cool. I'm in a Fallout world with all my friends. And you know, I don't want to be putting that out on.
Oh,
on
you
Twitch.
but you know the Legion of Love want it. They would make like gifs.
Come on, you weepy bitch.
Yeah, I know they make some gifs of you crying. I'm like, yeah, you cried.
No, it should be fun though, man. It's just going to be logistically just a matter of us getting together and finding the time to do that. So, but we will make it happen. We'll make it happen for all you beautiful people out there. Thank you so much for joining us. And look, our 2-hour Fallout special
There
that
you
we
go.
unintentionally did today. So I hope you guys have fun checking out Fallout 76. We hope you have a great Reclamation Day, and we will see you guys next week, Monday night, 9 p.m., for some more awesome Power Hour of Love.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna be the one for you. I've got more important things for me to do than play a little game and try to win your heart.